to Cooper Talk.
Welcome to Cooper Talk. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, and remember, I'm only as hip as my guests. I gotta tell you something, people. Years ago, in the late 80s, when I started doing stand-up, me and all the other Philly comics would watch TV, and my guest always made me laugh. I would see her on Evening at the Improv. I think she was a young comedian special, because she was just so funny, and she was just so ballsy, and it was great. It was refreshing. And now she's on The Comeback, which is great, and she's starring with my buddy Jerry Hawk in Jury Duty, Company Retreat. And my guest is Stephanie Hodge. How you doing, Stephanie?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good.
You good?
Yeah. So let's talk about Jury Duty. It's funny, Jerry Hawk did this show when I lived in L.A., probably 10 years ago. And he's such a nice guy. And when he was going through heart problems, I had heart problems in the past, and I said, use Mrs. Dash instead of salt. So that's our joke now. He can make food without salt. But you got to work with him. So tell me all about Jury Duty and how fun it was, because it's such a great... I watched the first season, and I'm watching this now. So tell me about it.
Well, it's amazing. Even the audition process is crazy. It's one of those things where they come to you and they say, okay, we want you to improvise 2 scenes based on one of these premises. Here's 4 premises, go. And you go, okay, I can do that. So you do that and you think, this is the weirdest thing I've ever had to do. So then they call you up and they say, you know what we'd like you to do? We'd like you to come to this test marketing procedure. So there's going to be real people there. There's going to be actors there. You have to come as a character, stay in that character, go through the entire thing as a character. And some of you will be actors, some of you won't. You're going to improvise the entire thing. And some of our people from Amazon may be there, maybe they won't. So you go and you do that thing. And my group watched the preview for Beetlejuice. And then they went around the table and asked us what we thought of it. And, you know, I couldn't tell who was an actor and who wasn't an actor in my group. But I was sitting next to someone that I was pleading, please let them cast me, and please let them cast this woman who was sitting next to me, and please let her be an actress, because she's so funny. She was so bizarre and so weird and so funny. I kept begging, and she was. It was Rachel Hines. So I was like, yes, this is great. It was just the weirdest process. Well, the whole process was weird.
I was going to ask you, when you get the sides for the audition, what did they say? Did they give you any background, or they just have you and say, okay, you have to develop you? I mean, I know at the improv you had to develop the whole character, because usually it'll say this, boom, boom, boom. So what did it say? What did the breakdown say? Did your agent just say go?
It just said, we want to see you do a character who's working inside a restaurant that has to come up with a great idea and sell everybody else on it. That's the one I did. And then there were other scenarios. You have to be a business person and nobody in the office likes you. You have to make them like you. And it's just, that was it. Improv on a Saturday night and doing a set. And that's all we had to go with. And it was one of those things where it was really freeing and it was really terrifying. At the same time.
Well, I would think so. So you get the part. Now, when you start shooting it, you know, the whole concept, it's so great, because I know Ralph Garman, and he hosted Joe Schmo, which was, they had the actor and they played a joke on him. And in this day and age, that's what I love about the show. It's because I was watching the first episode, and the guy said, when they do the previews, he's like, well, I think I'm in a TV show, but I wouldn't be. But it's a matter of, there's so many shows that go on, and yours is good. There's so many crap shows that are like, how do you not know it's fake? Like someone walks out and they drop a cake at a $50,000 wedding. But for you, when you get on the set, is it stressful at first? Because you don't want to screw up, because what happened? I mean, the people put time in it and you can't let the guy know.
It was stressful, but we spent about 6 weeks, I guess it was. It may have been longer, but you just get lost in this thing. At the office, playing improv games and writing our histories and working with the writers and getting to know each other. We didn't know each other's real names.
Oh, wow.
At all. Didn't know each other's names until the very end of the whole project. So that was it. We really built these characters and built our relationship as these characters. So by the time we started filming, we knew each other as these characters, so there was a certain comfort level in that, and we knew we had each other's backs. So we felt secure in that. But the minute Anthony walks in, we're all like, oh my God, what have we done? Are we going to be able to do this? And you just look at the guy next to you and go, my back, your back, my back, your back. Everybody's got the back. Okay, so we're fine. And they gave us beats that we had to fulfill. Sometimes they would give us lines or paragraphs that got us there faster than our improvising would have. So it was a journey with improvising and the writers and the director and the producers. And, you know, I can't go back and tell you how we did it, even though I did it and I was there.
You know,
I'm really mystified.
Well, it's amazing. So you're on, but what are you doing in the off time? Because I know, like in the first Jury Duty, they were sequestered, so they could go into a hotel. You know, but I mean, could you sneak off the set, or I mean, what was it like? And where did you guys shoot it? Was it? Are they true locations? Like I think it said Canoga, not Canoga Park. I forget where it said, but where?
Our office was set up in an empty building in Canoga Park. They made that warehouse into a beautiful little office space for us, and we were there for 2 days. Then we spent a week, actually 8 days, at a ranch in Agoura Hills between Agoura Hills and Malibu, in the area in there, in the mountainous area, which was originally a horse ranch, and now it's been converted into sort of a little dude ranch where you can go rent it and have weddings and parties, and there's a bunch of cabins. So we each had our own cabin. We're in the woods. We're not really near anything, but we're not too far away from anything. And so we filmed everything out there, which was kind of a hoot for those of us from here who are used to earthquakes and used to having a fire every once in a while, and used to, you know, scorpions and tarantulas and rattlesnakes and coyotes and bobcats. But it was kind of a hoot for those people who weren't used to those things.
So how close do you guys get? I mean, it's such a cohesive unit because you have to be. It's like, you know, with stand-up, and I did stand-up, you've done stand-up. You know, you knew comics, you know, you knew each other, but you don't really share the stage. You might do some improv, but here it's like if someone screws up, boom, the whole show goes. So it's a matter of, I mean, how close, I mean, you guys must have become really friends after just that short time because you have, first of all, you had so much vested together. Secondly, you're all performers. You're all actors. So you have that creative mind. So, I mean, was it something like, did you guys get really close and just sit there and be like, just sit there and have an unbelievable bond?
Yes. Yeah, we did. And it's interesting because there's been a couple of reviews and a couple of people who have, you know, TikToked about it or written about it, who said, you know, this can't be true. They can't, you know, that stuff about we're all a family. This is a very different animal because you live together, you work together, you eat together, you do everything but go to the bathroom together and sleep together. And it's one of those things where you are in this character so much, so 24/7, that when you have the opportunity to get out of the character, you're going to go be with your friends who understand what this feels like, because it's overwhelming. And sometimes it's just terrifying, and sometimes you need to be yourself so bad that it's just insanity. So you go and you be with somebody else that needs to be themselves, and you're just yourself for a couple of minutes or for a half an hour or so. And you do become very close, very, very close. I fell in love with these people, and I hope they fell in love with me too, at least some of them.
Now how long? How long did it take you to? I mean, it sounds like a weird question because you're only there for 8 days. But how long did it take you to acclimate to Stephanie? Because you were this person the whole time, and you know, and all of a sudden now it's like, oh, I'm not on the ranch, I'm home. It's like when I moved from LA back to New Jersey, it took me like, and my friends told me this would happen that have left LA. It took me a few months to get acclimated to New Jersey again because LA, it's like, oh, I don't have to leave 2 hours if I'm going 12 miles. You know, I mean, the traffic and everything. So did it take a little while for you to kick back into gear because it was a consuming role? As you said, it's not like in your past when you've been on TV shows, you do the set, you go into the trailer. Oh, shot, go into the trailer. Here, boom, boom, you're there the whole time. So what was it like when you got offset at the end of it all?
Well, the whole thing took, oh God, 3 months. So I wasn't home really for like 3 months. And there was a day here, a day there, a couple of days here and there. But I got so entrenched in it that one of the days I was home, my husband was talking to me and he said, Stephanie, Stephanie. Stephanie. And I ignored him. So finally he said, Helen. And I went, yes. Wasn't me. It was, I had lost my mind. And when we got home, when it was over, I cried. I just wept. It was the weirdest feeling. It was like a tremendous relief. And at the same time, I was so sad it was over. I just, because Helen was dead. Helen was dead. You understand what I'm saying? She was dead. I couldn't get away with things anymore. Helen was dead.
But
it was just...
Well, I can imagine, but so that project's, you're done with that. Now tell me about the comeback, because the weird thing, the comeback's funny. It was on, and I remember when it was first on, and Lance Barber was on I had him on my show before he got Young Sheldon, and he had told me, he was so interesting, and he told me he had just missed out on Mike and Molly, and that's how long ago it was. People don't remember, this is before Young Sheldon. This is the first comeback. Did you watch the first season and then it waited?
Yes, I did.
So,
yeah.
And that was so long ago. Now, were you a Michael Patrick King fan, of course you're a Kudrow fan? Everyone is.
Huge Michael Patrick King fan, and a huge Kudrow fan. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really watch Friends that much because I was just older enough not for it to be a thing for me. But I really liked her. And I loved watching her. So I would watch, and she was always my favorite. I am just so sorry, Jennifer. But she was my favorite. And I worked with Jennifer.
I know. So in a sitcom, in a show years ago. I know I saw that on your IMDb. So you knew Jennifer.
So she was so different. But Lisa was so different and so pure in her deliveries of everything she did. Just absolutely pure. There was never any anticipation in her character. It was just moment to moment to moment to moment. And I just loved it so much. So she was a bucket list for me. And Michael Patrick King was a bucket list for me. And I always wanted to do that show. And I thought, they're never going to do another one. They're just not going to do another one. Then I heard they were doing the third and final, and it was pretty much cast. So I thought, never going to happen. Then I got the call.
So did you get an offer? Did you just audition? What was the whole process?
No, I auditioned, and when I found out that the role I was auditioning for was the first AD on the show, inside the show, I was so happy because my husband has been an AD for years. That's what he is. So it was like, this was such a happy moment for me because I knew I could act like an AD. I knew that. I lived with it. So,
So what's it
and
like?
when I got it, I was just so happy.
You got it. So what's it like going on set when it's two bucket list people? I mean, it's not like oh, you're doing a spot with someone. Here it's like one, it's it's going to be it's going to be good because they both have a great track record. So you're stepping into something good with great writing and everything and all this good stuff. And what was it like when you go on set for the first day? Were you a little nervous because it was like this bucket list, or were you just pumped like they hired me because I'm good, but I got to deliver?
Yeah, I was both of those things. And I was so excited because I thought they hired me, man. They like me. This is so great. This is a validation for me in so many ways. And I better not miss this. I better not, So I was nervous and I was intimidated and I was excited and so happy. And I knew I could do it. And they're so nice and so welcoming and so kind and so secure in your being there. All that just flew out the window almost immediately. It was such a nice set, and everybody was so great. It was just so great.
So as an actor, when you have two great projects in a row, it must be tough to sort of focus on what's next, because it's like anything. I've talked to people who have been guest stars on shows, and you've been guest stars, you've been on series, but all of a sudden you have this amazing experience with jury duty. And then you have this bucket list experience and another amazing experience. So how do you sit there and get yourself psyched up for the next show? Because it's, you've just had such a great year. Do you sit there and keep in gear, or do you sit there and go, I might get a crappy project? Or how do you keep focused?
I'm realistic because it was funny. One of those things somebody said, I can't believe you got 2 series in a row, back to back like this. And then one drops on the 20th, one drops on the 22nd. How do you feel? And I went, I feel like I got 2 series that just run for 1 year each. So I'm hugely blessed. This is amazing. It's like a freaky thing. This doesn't happen. And I'm perfectly aware of that. So I'm like kicking it. I'm just crazy that this is even happening. And then you have to be realistic. They each run 1 year and they're over. And so I have to start looking ahead. I have to, while you're doing what you're doing, the project you're on, you still have to look ahead. You have to keep motivating. So what I'm doing is I'm writing like crazy. I've been writing for probably the last 2 years because I want to do a one-woman show. So I want to have it done by the end of the, I want to do it by the end of the year. So I'm going to do some stand-up and stuff.
Well, that's when I got to see you first stand up because plus it's so funny because the evening at the Improvs, you run that, and a lot of those people I would see back then, I became good friends with Rich Scheidner and Wendy Liebman and people that I would see on the shows, and I would meet them when I was in LA and they come do my show and I was always happy. That's why I'm glad you're on the show because you were so funny on. I remember from Evening at the Improv. Now, how did you get into stand up? Because you weren't a stand up at first. Were you booking a club or what was your whole path to being this whole creative type person?
Well, my path to being a creative person, that was my dad's fault. My father was an artist, and he taught art at a Quaker college, Quaker Fine Arts College, and in my hometown of Wilmington, Ohio, a little Quaker community. And every summer they had summer theater. So one summer they did Tea House at the August Moon, and they needed war orphans. So he decided I would make a perfect war orphan. So at 3, they dyed my hair black and they stuck me in a play. And that was the beginning of the whole shebang. So they just kept putting me in plays.
So now, when do you sit there? You end up booking the Comedy Cabaret in Minnesota? Is that what it is? Or what was your path to getting into stand-up?
My path into getting into stand-up was my ex-husband and another guy wanted to open a comedy club. And they needed more money. And I had money. So I was a third owner of that comedy club. I actually loaned my ex-husband his third, but we don't talk about that because it's humiliating for him. But yeah, so I actually owned 2/3 of that club. And neither one of them ever admitted it. I think it's so cute when, boys are afraid of girls.
So it's okay. So you open the comedy club.
Yeah. Open the comedy club. Then about a year into it, one of my girlfriends said to me, I bet you don't have the nerve to get up on stage and do that. And I didn't like comics. I didn't really like stand-up. I didn't trust them. I thought there was something wrong with them. And there is, but it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that's wrong with them. And so she bet me $50 I didn't have the nerve to do it. So I sat down like an actor and wrote out a scene that was acting like a stand-up, went up and did it, and I did really well, which is, it's like give you a little taste of heroin, but the next one you have to pay. Oh, I bombed so bad the next 100 times. It was terrible.
That, it's funny. I started out in Philadelphia, and I still remember I went to the Comedy Factory Outlet, and I'd taken a class, The Learning Annex. So it taught me how to get my act together. And same thing. I had the best set. And I walk out going, oh, yeah, I'm going to be headlining this club in a year. And, I don't know anything about the business. And I'm like walking out like, oh, yeah, yeah. And I go up the next time, and I eat shit. And I didn't come back for, 3 weeks. I had a tail between my legs. When I came back, this guy, unfortunately he's passed away, this guy from Philly, George Sharp, was like, yeah, you look like, and he talked to me. So he said, you're going to suck. And that's a lot of people don't get. It's hard in the beginning. And when you bomb, especially if you do it good the first time, you sit there and you're like I said, you have that feeling of invincibility.
It's, you know who was good to me? Louis Anderson was good to me.
Everyone says he was so good to comedy. He was so damn funny. He's some of the people that people don't talk about. Like when they talk about great comics, a lot of people don't bring Louis into the conversation. And he was he was so funny. Like everyone liked him. He's on those acts that no one said, "Oh,
yeah." It was one of those things where there were a lot of guys that were like, "Just don't do it. Girls don't belong. Girls don't belong in stand-up." Really. Really? Tell Joan Rivers that. Tell Rusty Warren that. Really? So I'm over it. I'm not bitter anymore. But some of them were really helpful, like Wild Bill Bauer. I don't know if, he's gone. Louis, he's gone. Jesus. Yeah, there were some of them that were really nice about it. And then there were others that were just about as demeaning and hateful and unhelpful as they could possibly have been. And I couldn't get up on stage anywhere except my own club. And you don't want to do that because then you're just, you're the bitch. You're eating all the stage time on your own stage. So I went to Mickey Finn's, which was an AFL-CIO there. But that was horrifying because there were men, passing out in their food and falling in their faces. And, it wasn't a place for a young woman. But Louis gave me the best advice I ever got in my life one night. Because they were just all in the audience. I walk off stage and Louis looked at me and he goes, sometimes you just got to keep talking.
So, okay, let's be honest about this. And I always wonder, because how awful was it for female comics back then? Because like in Philadelphia, we had like maybe 27 guys in an open mic, 27 acts, and maybe 2 females. And it was something, and it was such a guy's club. And that's the funny, it was like this thing. So what was it like? Did you have a little more respect because you booked? Or were people like, oh, she's just going to get work because she booked? What was it truly like in the early, mid-'80s to be a female comic? And then going into as you got bigger in your career?
It was interesting because initially in the beginning, it was a lot of, well, she's only getting booked because, she owns the club and they book comics. So that's the only reason she's getting any bookings. And that was like, fine, great. Be nasty to me. Go ahead. I don't care. And you have to develop this really tough skin. And then there were just guys would just say horrible things, just awful things about you behind your back or to your face, or they'd say shitty things about you to other comics you'd never met. And it was just this misogyny that was stupid and ridiculous because it was one of those things. I remember telling a comic, you can treat me like this now, but in future, this will come back to you because I will make sure that it comes back to you. And you don't understand that. You don't think I'm going to do anything or go anywhere. And that is your shortcoming, not mine. So, and later on, when I had an opportunity to choose my opening and middle acts, I didn't choose him. And there were so many times I could have, and I never, ever did.
Well, see, that's karma, and that's good. So how do you start, how do you gradually move up, playing the place where the people, AFL-CIO, whatever club, and how do you start getting into where you become a headliner and then parlay and start into those TV appearances? Because I know comedy was booming then, but it's still, you had to be good because you had to have the time.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the truth. I went to a gay club in Minneapolis, and they were great to me. They were fabulous. They built a stage for me. It was a beautiful stage in the upstairs area, and it was I think it was the most popular gay club in the Twin Cities area. And they built a stage for me, and I would go in there and I would try new material. I would do my stand-up. Pretty soon I'm getting booked at First Avenue, and I'm emceeing male strip shows, and I'm opening for lip sync night there, and I meet Prince. It's just sort of, by not letting me perform in the normal and usual way, I got to do a lot of things I wouldn't have gotten to do otherwise. And I advanced more quickly that way. So that when I did go back to the Comedy Cabaret and I did perform there, I was better, faster, and I started getting booked on the road. Primarily because I was the freaky girl and nobody had one of those. And then I was good enough to hold my own, the icing on the cake for the bookers. So it just continued.
So now, when did you decide to go to L.A.?
That was 1983. Decided to come to L.A. just to see. Might as well, been traveling around and doing all the traveling and stand up that way, and just felt like it was time to try. See if you could play with the big boys, and if not, forget it. Go back to Ohio, be a teacher.
So what happens?
That's what I was going to do in the first place.
What happens when you come to LA? Do you start getting work early? Do you start getting on at the Improv, the Laugh Factory, the Comedy Store? What is your process to getting into it and then getting on TV?
I spent the first year I lived out here on the road trying to make enough money to pay for my apartment. And pretty much the day that I had decided I was going to just pack it up and go back to Ohio, I was at the Improv on Melrose, and I did a set, and then I went up to the bar and got a cup of coffee, and Danny Robinson from APA agency walked up to me and said, "Hey, you want an agent?" This is like stupid. I said, "Sure, I'll have an agent. Thank you." And then later that week, he said, "Hey, I got an audition for you for a TV show. It's called Nurses. You want to go?" I went, "Sure, I'll go." And I booked my first TV series.
So wait, so your first was that one of your first auditions? So okay, so you come to now every comics going, oh my God. So okay, so you come to LA, you're about to leave, you're getting a cup of coffee at the Melrose bar. An agent comes up. Do you need an agent of APA, not just some like bullshit agency, a good agent,
right?
You know.
Yeah, a good agency, a big one.
Now, I mean, you had the acting chops from acting when you were a kid, so it worked. So,
right.
I mean, what is it like? Okay, so you go in and you have this audition. Now, is this at the time where they sit there and they bring you into the room and the callback in the room and all the executives, or what was your process when you after the audition, from getting the audition to Nurses to getting the part?
I went in and did a regular audition, which is just in front of everybody, and they're all sitting at the big table or on the sofas, and there's probably 18, 20 people in the room. You read the part, and they go, "Thank you very much. That was really nice. Go sit outside and wait." So you go sit outside and wait, then they call you back in, and they put you through, they give you direction, they ask you to read some stuff you hadn't read before, and then they send you home. Then they call you back and say, "We'd like you to do a callback." So you go in and you read with another actress, Arnisha Walker, who was up for another part in the show. And we read together, and they put us through our paces together, and then they cast me and Arnisha.
So what is it like now? You get on set, all of a sudden you're on a TV show. You have money. They're paying. It's an NBC. It's NBC, right? Was it NBC?
Yes. Yeah.
So they had money. You know, so what is that like? You all of a sudden you came out and this freak thing happens that you just get your first. What is it like for you when you first walk on set? Then all of a sudden, because you are on a NBC sitcom, and it's not like now where there's 87,000 different stations. There's like 6. Or maybe they're HBO's around then. So maybe there's like 9 stations. So what is it like? Because you have to sit there.
And your heart is pounding. Your heart's pounding. It's fluttering around. You're like floating off the floor. It's like your toes are dragging as you hover across the stage. It's unbelievable. You remember how it's just the way it smells and the way it looks and the way it feels, and it's just, they take you to your little room, with your name on the door, and it's your dressing room, and there's a phone in there and a refrigerator and a shower and your own bathroom, and it's just crazy. It's insane. It's like that Quaker girl from that little tiny cow town in Ohio just about lost her mind. Just about lost my mind.
So you go through the first season and you get renewed for a second season. What is that like?
Yeah.
When you sit there and you go, okay, you got this one on your belt, and you're probably still thinking, am I living in a dream? Like, this shit has just happened very easily. So all of a sudden, then they go, oh, you're renewed, 23 more episodes.
Yep.
So how do you focus? How does that not go to your head a little bit? Because, you're grounded, you're skilled. But did it go to your head at all? Did you get a little big-headed because all of a sudden you're on a TV show?
No, I'm Quaker. I am raised to believe the other shoe is going to drop. You might as well just sit back and wait. I'm grateful for everything that comes my way, and I know that it's just not going to last.
So how did you react when it was no longer? What do you go through then? Even though you're prepared for it, do you go through that depression?
No, actually I didn't. It was a weird thing because that was that was okay. I was a little depressed, you know. I was like, oh, okay, now what? But then you just turn around and you start auditioning and see what's out there, and you write some more stand-up and
now
just keep going.
With your stand-up, now, as you're acting on the show, are you in the off time going out and still performing, and probably because you probably could jack up your price because you're from a sitcom now? It used to be, you know, oh, from nurses, you know, nothing.
That's very dependent. That's very dependent on the show you're on. They didn't really want me to do stand-up when I was on Nurses because my stand-up was blue, and that Nurses was a family show, so we had a little bit of an issue with that. And I did go to we did fly down to Orlando to Disney World, and when I was there, they asked me to do stand-up at, I can't remember the name of the club, but it's an adult club, and they serve alcohol and everything. I don't know if it's still there, and they asked me if I would do my stand-up there, but if I would do it clean, if I would say no dirty words, none. And I went, you have dropped the gauntlet, and I am about to pick it up. So I did. I did a 45-minute set, and I didn't say one single dirty word the whole time. I used euphemisms like you wouldn't believe. I was making up stuff to stay instead of stuff I usually said. And there were guards at like each exit row. There were 4 exit rows that I could have gotten through, and they were waiting. If I said one dirty word, boy, they were going to take me out. And it's true. It's the truth. I did it, and I did the whole 45 minutes without a single dirty thing. And when I walked off set, it was funny because somebody from Disney was there that went, we did not think that was possible. And I said, you underestimate me.
No.
I don't have to swear. I just like to.
Exactly. That's my feeling when I'm on stage. I like to swear. I don't have to. I played it so funny. I get booked. Me and my buddy, we get booked, and I always thought it was just an opening. Well, I have to do 40 up front, and I have to work completely clean. This was just a few months ago, and it's a 55 and up community. So I'm 60. So I sit there and I go, all right. So I write some stuff thinking about, you know, my generation, because I know people who live at 55 up. I get there and it's I'm the youngest by 15 years. The guy who was headlining was 50. And it was just so funny. And I was worried. I'm like, am I going to be able to get through doing this for this older crowd and not curse? And I was really worried. And I had that lurking thing. It's like, I have to go do 40 minutes to a cold audience. And the woman who started the show, I guess they had an act who came in and was cursing last time. So she's bitching about the last act, and I'm going, oh, great. So now I'm going up there. But it's weird because you sit there, when you put your mind to it, though, you can do it. It's so much more fun to curse on stage.
It is a lot more fun.
Now,
especially the first one. The first big curse out of my mouth always gets people to go.
Well, you used to smoke on stage, right?
Yes, but I quit smoking.
Okay, so
because death.
I quit 13 years ago. But what was that like? Because it's so funny. I tell people back, like I remember like in Richmond, there was a Matt's British Pub, the comedy. Anita Fletcher had a club down there, and you would go on stage, and it was Richmond, Virginia. Everybody smoked, and you would just see waves of smoke coming up, and it was so accepted that you would get off stage, even if you didn't smoke, you smelled like you smoked. Was it when you stopped? Did you quit smoking while you're doing stand-up? And what was that like, not having the cigarette, because it's sort of like an extension of a mic? I mean, what was that like for you?
It was an adjustment. It really was an adjustment to make. It was a huge adjustment. And I would find myself going, what is this? It's my ghost cigarette. I had it amputated, and now I have a ghost cigarette. What is that? But I got asthma, so I had to quit. So, just bronchial asthma. My lungs are clear. That's what killed me. I had them x-rayed so many times because I didn't believe them. They finally said, your lungs are clear. Stop coming here. You're bothering people now. Just get out.
So now you
tubes that are screwed up.
Now you did the Tonight Show too, but did you booked? But Jay was the guest host, right? Jay Leno was the guest host.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about that, because that happened to Kathy Ladman, because she got booked for Carson, and then Leno was the guest host. Nothing wrong with Jay, but for Johnny,
Well, I was there twice. the first time I went there, Why am I blanking on his name? He's so famous, too. Penn. Mr. Penn.
Mr. Penn?
Sean Penn.
Sean Penn.
Sean Penn. Sean Penn went on before me, and he brought some kid he wanted everybody to meet. So the kid ate my time.
And was Carson hosting? Was Carson the host?
Yes, which really pissed me off. And Carson came back to my dressing room afterwards, gave me a big hug, and told me he was so sorry. And I was like, this doesn't count unless everyone's watching. But and then the second time, Carson had been in some sort of accident and had hurt himself. So Leno was there. But I got a kiss from James Taylor, so I don't care. James Taylor kissed me.
Now, see, I was going to say, I knew you were with James Taylor. So what, was that, did he just come up to you after the show and kiss you on the cheek? What happened?
No, he kissed me on the cheek on set right there.
See that?
And he made Pete Barbuti scoot over so he could sit next to me.
Pete Barbuti, there's a blast from the past. Now you're going to do like a Shields and Yarnell reference. I'm waiting for it. So you also did the Young Comedian special.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's special because Fred Stoller's been in. Fred Stoller wrote a book. You were with Fred and Spade and Dennis Miller hosted, right? And Jan Karam.
Yeah.
So at the time that show was very watched. What point of your career were you at? Was that before you were on TV, or what was that at? Where was that at?
That was early. That was really early on. I think that was before I was on TV. I think so. Yes, it was.
So what was it like with that array of talent? I mean, what's that night like shooting it? Because you have so many comics. I mean, it was Spade, it was Schneider, it was Jan Karam, it was Drake Sather.
I barely remember that. That was just a whirlwind. That was just like people in bodies everywhere. It was just so... And I was, again, I was nervous and intimidated, and I barely remember that. It just was a lot of movement and action and yelling, over here, now, come, here, where are you? Of that. So that's what I remember.
See, that's good, though. That means you had a good time. So now, okay, let's get back to your acting. So after Nurses, eventually you come up on Unhappily Ever After. Now, how does that come about? And was that show a vehicle for mostly you as the star? I mean, how did that come about?
That was weird because I went into audition for that and I was told that there had been so many women who auditioned for that part and some of them just didn't want it. And I was like, okay, then why do you audition if you don't want the part? Because, if people say, well, go ahead and audition for it and then you can always turn it down. At least they'll see you. They'll see you knowing that you went into audition for a part you didn't want. So that's always a really good impression to make, isn't it? Oh, wasting time. So I went in and auditioned for it, and Jeff Pearson came in for the callback and read with me. And he did the most genuinely nice thing I've ever seen. When we were reading a scene that was pretty fast-paced, argument, not argument scene. I was trying to seduce him, but he was arguing with me. So I was arguing back while I was trying to seduce him. He turned his back to the producers and casting agents and read with his back to me. So I would get all the focus. That was the nicest thing any actor ever did for me.
That was nice. So then you get the part, though. You get the part. So
I get the part, yeah.
And so are you enjoying the series? What happens?
I was enjoying the series. Everything was going fine. I thought it was, we were having a good time. Bobcat was fun to work with. There was always something going on. There was always some kind of practical joke or some kind of insanity happening. Kevin Connolly, really just a treat to work with him. And Jeff Pearson was great. Nikki Cox was a project. She was a girl turning into a teenager, turning into a woman, like within a process of 3 days. I've never seen anybody mature that fast in my life. They should have given her shots or something. It was just
So now, did you die on that show?
And Jeff, I did die.
Okay, so tell me
but it was all a dream.
But how does it get to a point where you are you get the part, and then after a while they have you die? What was the circumstances behind that?
The circumstances behind that was that there was one writer / executive producer who wanted the part of Ginny Malloy, and they wouldn't let her have it, and they cast me. So every time there was anything to do with Ginny, she was never liked anything I did. She told me I needed to lose weight. I was a size 4. Now, I'm a grown-ass woman, okay?
Right.
I'm not a size 4. I was a skeletal size 4, starving my fucking self to death. Hurt my French.
Right.
That's not French. When it's French, it's fucking. She was always on me. Always on me about something. And it was bad. And then she started telling Nikki was too fat. I'm like, back it up. You don't talk to a teenage girl about her body. She's too fat. She's too thin. Her boobs aren't big enough. Nah. Stop it. You're working on a whole mental illness right there. You just don't go there. Because I was anorexic and bulimic when I was 13, 14, and 15. And that screws you up for life. For life. It affects you on a cellular level. And I wasn't going to have Nikki go through that. Nah. I was ready to throw hands with this woman. And she was just my nemesis through this whole thing, and it was such a great experience except for her. And she just didn't like that they gave me the part. She wanted it. She was always in there. Well, what if she speaks French? I'm like, what part of Ginny Malloy speaks French? So I would fight, I would fight for the reality of my character within that bizarre reality. You've got to have a reality, even if it's a bizarre reality. So that was unpleasant about that. And then after I had my daughter, I got pregnant, had my daughter. They worked around that. I was carrying things in front of me for so long. And then when I came back, they killed me. And then people got mad that I was dead, so they brought me back and made it all a dream.
That must make you feel good, though, because even though you're dealing with this bitch who doesn't like you, the fans like you, and they're pissed off that you're not back. So, I'm just wondering, like, what does this executive call you and go, okay, so Stephanie, by the way, you're not dead. You're coming back. Yes. Was all a dream. That must have been out of the blue. That must have been a big shock to you, because you probably were like, you wrote the series off. You're like, I'm done with it.
Yeah, pretty much I pretty much had. And to get back at them, they had an executive who was going to walk out on stage and explain to the audience that this has all been a dream, that I'm still alive, everything's fine, blah, 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 blah. Right? So just before they start to count down, I walked over to him and said, boy, this must be exciting for you. You've never been in front of the cameras before, huh? It's pretty cool, isn't it? I said, so what kind of executive are you going to be? Are you going to be like excited about this? Are you going to be matter of fact about this? Are you going to be, like sort of guilty that this sort of happened? How are you going to approach it? 3, 2. He had to start over 3 times.
Now, how long were you on after you came back from being dead?
I was on for the rest of that year, so I was on Unhappily for, was it 4 years? And then they had another year without me because, they fired me.
Why did they fire you?
Because I don't know why they fired me. I got a notification. Oh, because I was too expensive. That's why. I was fired because I was too expensive. And guess who sent the notification that I had been fired?
That woman.
That woman sent me notification that I had been fired. And this was before I came back, which was interesting. I was at home. I had just gotten home from the hospital after having an emergency C-section, which was really fun. And I had blood poisoning, so I had severe edema, and I was sick as a freaking dog. And So I get this letter that I had been fired, and it was signed by her. So they called. I called and said, this is interesting because did you know this happened? Disney didn't know this happened. It was a Disney show. No one gave her permission to fire me. And they said, well, you have to come back to work. I said, not necessarily. I mean, I'm fired. Maybe there could be a little apology.
Did they give you an apology? Did they give you more cash?
And perhaps a raise. And maybe I don't want to work all the shows. So yeah, I got a little apology, a little raise, and I didn't have to work all the shows.
Now, it's funny. My wife's a big NCIS fan, and last night was the 500th episode. And I told her you were going to be on my show. Now you've been on NCIS twice. Now you were on the first season. You were on the first season. She still remembers you.
Yes.
I said she played the sheriff, and my wife's like, "Oh my God, she was so funny." She goes, "It was so great." She showed how much she had a crush on Mark, like the whole time. What was it like for that show? Because first of all, people don't forget, like Mark Harmon. Not only is he tremendously good looking, but he was a quarterback for UCLA. He's just not some schlub. He's like this jock turned funny actor. He was in summer school and all. I mean, was it summer school? Yeah, and all these things. So
yeah.
So NCIS was what was it like going onto that set? Because it wasn't the phenomenon it is yet.
It was so great. It was so much fun. Everybody was so nice. I mean, who greets a guest actor on your set with hugs? Everybody hugged me. Everybody was happy I was there. I don't even care if they were lying. It was so nice. It was just so nice. And Mark is just the nicest, most down-to-earth guy on the planet. He is just so nice. And it was raining, so he has a little car, and he goes, "Get in the car, I'll take you to this. You're not walking in the rain. Come on, come on, come on." And it was just great. And they had this box. He had this wooden, like, foot locker. And because they take us out to the property surrounding the prison out there, because I can't remember the name of the place where we filmed, but there's all this property surrounding this prison that's out there, and they use Marines and actual servicemen for the bodies and the extras and stuff, the atmosphere. And so there was like a naked Marine laying in the grass for the whole afternoon. It was absolutely horrifying.
But what's great about that is you got to come back again to NCIS, which that's what, like, when you talk to some actors who have been in the game for a long time, they'll sit there and go, "Yeah, I was in the first season of Law and Order, and then I was on the 10th season of Law and Order, and then I was on the 13th season of Law and Order SVU." Like, they do the rounds of all the shows. So it's just, I'm glad that they can do it, because it used to be the philosophy of, well, we can't have them back because people might, no one's going to remember from 20. I mean, my wife remembers because she's a diehard fan, and she remembered your character right away. But did you just get a call, or did they so you can? Is there like a time when like, okay, it's been a time where you're allowed to go back to the show now?
They have. I think it's every 7 years they have that they'll use somebody on the same show. So I did NCIS twice, and I've done NCIS Los Angeles once. So I've done 3. And then I did the crossover. So I've done it 4 times. But I never did NCIS Hawaii.
Which would have been good. You could have gone to Hawaii.
Would have been good. That would have been good.
And now they have NCIS Australia now. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know.
You got to get on that. You got to get on that. I don't know what's an Australian show.
I went and got a passport and everything. I'm ready to go. I love that show. It's great because it's the crew. It's the same crew. You walk on and you go, "Oh my God, it's the same people."
Now, during this whole comedy and acting career, when did you stop doing stand-up? And did you miss it when you stopped? Because a lot of times people, like, I was out of the business. I do it occasionally now. But I got out of the business. I was in and out. I did a little bit in L.A., and then I didn't do it. And then something, you always come back to it. But when did you stop doing stand-up?
I stopped doing stand-up when my father got sick. And he died. And then my father-in-law got sick, and he died. We took care of him, and he died. Then my mother got sick, and I took care of her, and she died. And too much. It was too much. So during that period of time, I just couldn't. do it. And afterwards, it just really took a long time for me to get in a place where, somebody would say something that would have put me in the floor before, and I would just go, huh. So I was in this, I don't know what it was. It didn't feel like depression. It felt more like, it was more like an anxiety. Because I'm 69, and I'm like looking at the world going, people talk about, well, in 20 years, it's like 20 years. I'll be dead. There's a really good chance. So you go through all this life and death stuff, and you have to come to I had to come to a place where I just went, hey, we all live, we all die. And in the interim, you can't sit around thinking about it. You can't sit around being sad about it. You can't, you have to do what your mother and father asked you to do, which is do not mourn. Don't mourn. Live harder, live wider, live louder after I'm gone. That's what they both said.
How old were you when you stopped doing stand-up?
I stopped doing stand-up when I was, let me see, the last time I did it, I was 62.
Okay, and so you haven't been on stage, and you mentioned earlier you're writing a one-person show. So now, what is that going to be about? Because it's not, it's funny. I did a storytelling show a while ago, and we're so used to doing comedy, get the laugh, get the laugh, get the laugh. And when you do one of these storytelling shows, it's not all about the laugh, and you throw something out that is a part of it, and they don't laugh, and you're going, oh, fuck, I screwed up. But they're like, no, they're here to listen. So what is your one-person show? Is it going to be an hour comedy special like that, or is it going to be a one-person show where there's stories and drama and laughter?
Yes, B. Because I've actually written quite a lot of stuff about taking care of your family while they're dying. And there's a lot of funny stuff in there. It's just how you approach it and how you get to it and how you talk about it. Because I've talked to a lot of people who have been through this. A lot of people. And we've all had the same experiences. And you can sit and laugh with them about these things. It's just, can I translate this onto a stage and out to an audience? I guess we're going to find out.
It's funny because my mom passed a year ago, and she was 95, and she had lived with dementia for a long time. And you don't. I started talking about Alzheimer's on stage, and that's a slip years. But you learn, people appreciate it, because I would say, my mom remembered her name was Cooper. She doesn't remember who I am, so when I call her assisted living, I say it's your son Bradley Cooper. And it always got a laugh because people were like, oh, you're not Bradley Cooper. They accepted it. So you'd be surprised. People now accept stuff because everyone's gone through it now. I mean, it's different now. So it's one of those things where you're really nervous, but I'm telling you, the stuff will work. And if you talk about that, you'll get a specific crowd that will understand you. And, but it won't be like your old stand-up. That's a funny thing. We get out of that as we mature. We never want to mention this. We don't go, well, I know all these jokes work, but as you mature in your act and we get older, it's like, I'm like me when I was young. I was telling dick jokes. I can't go up now at my age and tell dick jokes. I'll go, who's this old pervert telling dick jokes? So it's one of those things where it's. I'm sure your act. Do you have? Is it formulated, or are you just writing stuff down?
At this point, I'm just writing. I also talk about getting older and how sex is different and how I don't understand the number of women this is true. The number of women who have said to me, what do you mean sex? You still have sex? I mean, after I had my kids, we were done. I'm like, what? Your kids are in their 30s. What have you been doing? What is wrong with you? You are not the person I went to high school with. I don't understand that. That just befuddles me. Honestly, what is that? No wonder people get divorced after they've been married for 30 years.
I know, exactly.
That's ridiculous.
So, do you have a plan of when you're going to do the show? Because I think you should write a date down, because I'm sure people will go see it. I don't have a date. I don't have a specific date yet. I should make one, huh? You should. I'm telling you, because people, especially now, the comeback, jury duty, you're on a roll. So, okay, before we go, I always ask my guests this question: You've had a very good career. TV series, more TV series than most people have. More comedy appearances. I mean, you even hosted Evening at the Improv. So that's, you even hosted it one night, I believe. So, Young Comedian Special, Tonight Show. So when you look back at this whole career, and you're a mother and you've been married, what makes you proud? What are you most proud of, personally and professionally, when you look back at your life?
What I'm most proud of, honestly, is my daughter. I'm so proud of my daughter. She grew up in this house with show business people and no real stability. There's no real stability in a house full of show business people, and no normalcy. There's just no normalcy in a house full of people like us, and she's a remarkable young woman. She is just a huge heart and a remarkable soul, and she just makes me proud. That she's in this world and she's the way that she is, good. I can die happy knowing that. And I think professionally, the thing that makes me the most proud is that I've done it at all. That some Quaker chick from Ohio that used to just sit in her bedroom and dream that one day, she's going to set foot in California and she's going to do something. Doesn't know what, had no idea, but someday she's going to do something. I think I'm just proud that I made it at all. That I did one thing.
That's
pretty amazing.
That's awesome stuff. I want to take you, thank you for coming on tonight. People, go watch The Comeback. Go watch Jury Duty, Company Retreat. You're going to like them both. You're going to laugh, and if you don't, you have no sense of humor. So look up Stephanie also on IMDb. Go look at some of her old shows too. Find that NCIS episode, because my wife said she was great in it, because she was so openly flirting with Mark Harmon, her character. So
that wasn't hard to do.
Exactly. So watch that, people. Go to my website, coopertalk.net. You can find 1,060 episodes there. Go onto YouTube, look up Lawsuits and Lessons. That's every other show. Every other week, I host with attorney John Fagerholm. We talk to entrepreneurs. And also email me at coopertalk.net. So remember, I'm Steve Cooper. I'm only as hip as my guests. Don't forget, drink your water, eat your vegetables, take your vitamins, and I'll talk to you next time.